Tron Ares is the worst movie that has ever been made. I had the displeasure of watching it, the first 10 minutes or so of it, a few nights ago, and I kind of wanted to kill myself. Kind of wanted to crawl into a hole, bludgeon myself to death with a hammer. Normally, I would be being Normally, I'd be being hyperbolic about this. No, I think this might actually be the worst movie that's ever been made. Full stop. And I think I can bet both my testicles on that. Most movies these days fail on less depressing accounts. Most movies these days, there's a lot of bad movies out these days. There have been for a number of years now. Movies are not in great shape these days. But they've been bad for very easily understood reasons, where, they're trying to shovel this politics into them. They're rewriting characters that we once loved. They're just doing remakes. It's very lazy. It's easy to see why they're bad, and there's external factors and all that. Tron Ares is a level and degree of bad producing that I have never in my life seen in a movie, and I've watched a lot of movies. I struggle to even comprehend the level of incompetence. Everything, down to the last tiniest detail of this movie, of all aspects of production, is terrible. I don't even have any major gripes with the story, although I certainly could. I watched the first 15 minutes and I couldn't take it anymore, and so I skipped around the rest of the movie to see if it was all still that bad, and it was definitely still that bad. So I did not watch the whole thing, and I'm definitely not going to. So I can't say anything about the story. It seemed kind of weak. I've heard it was kind of weak, but I can't comment on that. I'm just talking about the production, guys. But as we can learn from the greatest movies, we can learn from the worst movies. Speaking of greatest movies, I watched American Psycho again for the 10th time last night, hence the suspenders. You know how it is. Great movie. This is a terrible movie. So let's talk about it. Let's see what we can learn from it. Let's see what we can not repeat going forward. And God have mercy on our souls. I'm just going to call things out as I see them. Okay, so already we're terrible. Did you hear that? Did you hear this? Okay, first of all, the sound design in this movie is so bad. It's so bad. Most of the time, there's none. Most of the time, there is just none, which is a bigger problem. This, they went overboard. I mean, did you hear how, epic they tried to make that sound? She pushed a button. She flipped a switch. And they're like, whoa, the button, the switch. They got the Inception boom in there. Listen. Why is that such a big deal? And the music is off. Even the music is off. Is it just me? And I thought this for the entire parts of the movie that I watched. There was a disconnect between the music and the movie, and it didn't make sense to me. If I were to guess, I'd say it was the editor's problem. I don't think that the composer, because I forget who the composer was, but I remember it was someone decently good. I don't think they would make that mistake. So I imagine the director or editors kind of butchered what the composer gave them. Why are we emphasizing the most random things that the character is doing in the sound design? We don't look. Maybe that switch, if this were the climax of the movie, and her flipping that switch meant she just saved the world. Okay, now that makes more sense. Now it makes sense why we would dramatize that action. But this is the first scene in the movie. We haven't even seen our main character's face yet, and by the way, main character's face. We'll get to that in a second, but. Why are we making a big deal out of this? This is why sound design is so important, because now the viewer is just confused. We're sitting here what? And was I supposed to pay attention to that? Am I supposed to know what's going on? Because that sounded important, but I don't know why. It's also worth noting that when they do actually use sound design, whether that be actual sound effects in post, or I'll also include the soundtrack in that, because part of that. That was the music as well. So in both cases, they significantly they're significantly louder than the Foley. Again, I just skipped through the movie, and even then, I still heard it a bunch of times throughout the whole movie where the Foley's not even noticeable underneath all of the additional sound they're adding into it. And again, they're not even doing it correctly, and they're not even doing it that often. I noticed a lot of times when they did not use any sound design. We're going to point a few out right now. So are you kind of hearing what I'm hearing? When I first watched this, maybe I'm not so sure the second time around. When I first saw this, I really thought that the sound of that snow machine was in-camera audio. I really did. Or at the very least, it's too constant. Like the volume of it was pretty much the same in all those different shots of it. Maybe some slight difference, but it was pretty level. And that shouldn't be the case. As the camera's closer to it, it should be way louder. And you're supposed to exaggerate these things in filmmaking. You have to exaggerate them. Otherwise, you don't pick up on them. So I don't know if it was in-camera audio, but it really sounded like it. And in any case, there was no sound of like the snow beneath the tracks. There was no sound of like the wind whipping against her. It was just kind of this engine in the background that was really, really leveled out. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's say that was, in fact, they added it in post and they captured it well and it wasn't just in-camera audio. Okay. You still needed to add like at least 5 other sounds. At least 5 other sounds. I mean, have you seen movie timelines? Hang on. Look at this. Look at this. See, this is a simple one. This is a simple one. Look at all the sound design they have right here. Look at that. Does that look like one track to you? No. So the sound design is also horrible. It's about to get worse. Hang on, more sound design. Do you hear that? Do you hear how that's just in camera? Listen. Do you hear how it's so quiet beneath the music? The music's not that good, guys. And here we get to our biggest problem in the entire movie. And this is the biggest problem in the entire movie. And there's a lot of them. This is the biggest one. This woman cannot act. I'm given to understand this is a very talented voice actress. I could believe that. I could totally see that. This woman cannot act on camera. Why the F is she in this? It's horrible. She's incapable of making any recognizable facial expressions. None. And the ones she tries to make are out of place. She's about to make one right now. Well, she's in the middle of making one right now. That doesn't make sense. So we don't know where she is yet. And again, like if this were later, like in the climax, we'd assume this was some important place. But we're about to find out it's not really an important place. It's just kind of her lab that she's in every day. And she walks into this room that she walks into every single day. And she looks around like... Also, man, they went overboard with the film grain. There's way too much grain. Way too much. Do you see the disconnect? We start this movie with the biggest problem being that it's overblown, right? It's the first scene. We don't know the character. We don't know where she is, what she's doing, but they're making it sound like a really big deal between the music and the sound design and the way it's shot. They're making it seem like a really important climactic moment. And then we find out she's just turning on the lights so that she can go into this laboratory thing that I forget who it is, her daughter or something like that, used to work in. And then she can be sad for a little while. It's like we have this energetic, important, climactic build-up to her sitting in a room feeling kind of sad. That doesn't work. That's not how you build up to that. You build up to that the same way. You build up to it slowly and methodically and calm. And you take your time. You sit with the character for a while. It didn't do any of that. It tried to do this cool snowmobile chase thing. I don't even know what to call it. In some mountains somewhere, and the big deal with the light switch and the acting across the board. So obviously I'm giving her the most shit right now because she's the main character and doing a really bad job. I could go on about Jared Leto too. you know, my favorite Jared Leto movie is American Psycho because he dies in the first hour. Just saying. Anyway, she's terrible, but the entire cast is horrible. How do you even do this? How do you, as the director, sit on set with all the budget this movie had and be like, yes, these actors will do. They'll do the trick while you watch this fiasco go down. What is the face? What is the face? What is the face? She went through like 4 different emotions right there in like 10 seconds. What is the face? She goes from like to what are we doing? How are we feeling? Tell me how it feels, sweetheart. The dialogue, you know what? I don't even think it's the actor's fault. The dialogue is so bad, it makes George Lucas look like a good writer. What's going on? I don't think there's many actors you could hand this script to and they'd actually make it sound good. So I'm really not sure I can entirely blame the actors. I can definitely blame this actress because she should not be doing on-camera acting. She's a voice actor. She should stick to that.
Hey, are you still going to be doing CEO type stuff while we're out here? You know, like earnings calls and the launch of Panic City and stuff?
Let's just get this done.
And now we're getting too much information too fast where we're having to just do full-on exposition of this other random character who's, have we even heard his name yet? I don't think so. Just telling us everything about this woman. Like, hey, are you going to do CEO stuff? Like, that's how you tell us that she's the CEO of a company? You're going to do the CEO stuff? The CEO stuff. I'm going to cut it there because anything more would be, I think, violating the Geneva Convention. This movie is so bad. It's so bad. And it's not bad for any, like, one identifiable reason, right? Look, you can say the new Snow White was bad because it was, like, pandering, right? You could say that. You could say the new Star Wars movies are bad because it was just, you know, nostalgia bait and it was just trying to replace old characters with new characters and it didn't work that way. Like, there's tons of bad movies these days you can point to and say it's bad because of this. This one, it seems like a genuine, honest attempt at making a good movie. But I've literally never seen so many problems that are just a result of laziness or incompetence. Sorry about that. My camera battery committed suicide after having to watch 10 minutes of this movie. Most of my brain says it has to be a practical joke. It's so bad. It's so bad. Anyway, let's talk about takeaways. What can we learn from this? How can we avoid these mistakes? Let's talk about the acting first. Obviously, if you have a voice actor as a on-camera actor, you should not do that. You should fix yourself. Let's not do that, okay? Let's actually pay attention to what people are specialized in. They're specialized in it for a reason, and let's play to that strength, right? If you have, you know, one of the programs could have, you know, the face covering and we never see their face. Well, perfect. You cast her as that, right? Because apparently she's a great voice actress. Okay, cool. Do that. Let's not be putting her face on screen. And oh my God, it gets so much worse. It gets so much worse than those 10 minutes I showed you. It gets so much worse. My God, don't watch this movie. Anyway, okay, yeah, don't do that. Directors, guys, I'm talking to you now. I'm talking right to you now. Please, you have many jobs, but you have one job, and it's to make sure that your actors aren't being fucking stupid and actually are acting well, okay? That's your job. Like, when push comes to shove, when we really get down to it, that's your job. You got a lot of stuff to do, I get that, but ultimately, your job is to make sure that doesn't happen. That's your job. Do your job, script writers. You need to help your cast act, okay? You can't make it harder for them. Your job is to write a script that is so in line with what people would actually say that the actors can then actually work with it, right? This was the biggest failing of George Lucas. I already mentioned it. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I love George Lucas. Let me just say that. But his wife wrote most of the original trilogy. She took George's script and she kind of rewrote it, a lot of it. She wasn't really involved in the prequel trilogy, and we all know the dialogue difference between the originals and the prequels. So let's not be like George on dialogue. Let's write things well. Let's write things the way people talk. and that'll help the actors a lot. Editors and sound designers. Guys, come on now. Let's not be doing this, okay? This was pure laziness. Well, it was laziness and severe miscommunication with the producers, directors, and writers of the movie. You didn't know what you were making. If I had to guess, I'd say it wasn't their fault. If I had to guess, I would say there was a severe miscommunication between either the producer or the director and the composer and the sound designers. Let me remind myself who directed this. Never heard of him. How do you say this? It's a Norwegian name. Joachim Roning, if I had to guess. Oh, God, he made Maleficent. Oh, that makes so much more sense. Although he also made Parts of the Caribbean, one of those movies. Okay, he's made 2 Parts of the Caribbean movies. He's not a bad director. Who's the producer? Oh, Jared Leto was one of the producers. Emma Ludbrook, Steven Lisberger, Sean Bailey, Justin Springer, Jeffrey Silver. Only ever heard of Jared Leto out of that list. So there was a huge disconnect between the emotion that needed to be brought out by the sound design and what was actually being told in the story. And so even if the sound design crew, even if the composers had done a perfect job and done everything right, I still think it would have been terrible. Director and producer, coordinate, guys. That's your job. Make sure everyone's on the same page. I don't really want to get into the visuals of this movie right now. It was pretty good in some regards, really bad in other regards. All in all, kind of evens out. I'm pretty mid on the graphics. If anything, I'd say it was shot well. The CGI, not great, not terrible, not great. The virtual production, they used the volume a lot in this movie. Way too much. Horrible culprit of that. I've made a rant on that. I'll link it above my head right now. Otherwise, it wasn't too bad. It was shot well. Way too much film grain, but the color grading was okay most of the time, except for the virtual production scenes where it was terrible. But the real world scenes was okay. But ultimately, we have the biggest question that needs to be asked. Did this movie need to be made? Now, look, I'm not the critical drinker. I am not actually reviewing movies. I'm a producer. I'm a marketer. I'm trying to teach upcoming filmmakers, videographers, content creators, business owners how to make good-looking content. That's why I'm here. So I don't really necessarily want to get into this. I would say people definitely did want to see another Tron movie, but I think they wanted to see a continuation of Tron Legacy, because I think most people loved that movie. It had its problems, but it's one of my all-time favorites. I love that movie. I think people wanted to see a continuation of that story, and I think this could have been that, but I think they went off to do their own thing, and it didn't work. While I was editing this, I got distracted with an excellent breakdown on the actual story and writing of this movie. I'm going to link it in the description. Highly recommend you watch this from Film Speak. I'm breaking down more of the production side. He's breaking down more of the writing side, and he's got phenomenal points in here. Go watch his review. This is great. Anyway. So that's Tron Ares. That is the worst movie that I think has ever been made. I have yet to find a worse one. I hope I never do. If you know of any worse ones, and again, worse as in, if you send me a movie recommendation you think is worse than this, but their budget was $300, it's not worse. It's not worse. What was the budget on this? 180 to 220 million. Okay, so don't send me any $300 movies. Send me $200 million movies. See if you can find me a worse one that's genuinely worse. Not they did a bunch of stuff intentionally that ruined it. Like they tried their best and failed this hard. I've never seen it before. I hope I never see it again. If you think I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, and I will subject myself to more torture for you guys. But hope this makes sense. Hope this helps. If there's anything you want me to talk about next week, let me know. And I'm going to go crawl in a hole and die.